Are you trying to increase your bench press? You're stuck at that plateau and you have no idea what muscles that you need to train to push through that plateau. If you're wondering what you need to do to get stronger on that horizontal chest press, find out today. Stay tuned to the rest of this video. What's up, everybody? I'm Dane Miller from GarageStrength.com, and if this is your first time coming to this channel, be aware that everything that we're going to be focusing on is all going to be around sports performance education and strength training education and strength training practices. So if you're interested in these topics, try and like, subscribe, share these videos, and also make sure you ring that notification bell, because then every single piece of content that we put out, you're going to get informed about. And comment down below with whatever questions you have. We're going to answer everything that we possibly can so that we can engage with you guys and create more content to solve all of your problems. So today, what we're going to be working on is what are the muscles used during the bench press. Everybody knows from a big perspective that, the pecs are going to be used, but nobody really sits down and thinks and analyzes the movement as a whole and what little muscles can really contribute to bigger gains throughout that horizontal chest press. And before we even begin, I think it needs to be known and clear that a lot of people have this stigma around the bench press. Oh, it's just this overrated exercise. People back in the 70s and the 80s, all they did was bench press, so now it's not that good of a movement. But we've got to be aware that in the realm of sports performance, in sports even like swimming, the bench press can have a positive impact on performance. The bench press has a seriously positive impact on throwing stiff arms if you're a football player, on being a shot putter, on being a discus thrower. Wrestlers have tremendous match strength because they train the bench press. And the wrestlers that may not train the bench press but then add it into their training program dramatically increase that mat strength and mat awareness. So it has a very, very positive aspect to it as long as we understand what the reasons are behind it. But let's go into what are those muscles being used. So of course, just like I had said, that number one muscle group that we're going to be utilizing during the bench is the pecs. And if you can refer back to our elbow flaring video, you can understand how the pecs have a very positive relationship to that horizontal adduction of our shoulder and the rotation that is going to be going to our shoulder. And the pecs are the most important. They're the prime movers of the bench press. So we need to make sure that our pecs not only are strong, but they stay healthy and the joint around your shoulder joint is stable when we're pressing, and that is where lats factor in. So the lats and the pecs work synergistically, okay? So we've got to comprehend that when we're pressing, when we're doing that eccentric movement, when we're lowering the weight down into the hole and we're getting close to our chest, we need to make sure that our lats are contracted to provide a little bit more stability in that shoulder joint, and that is going to increase the firing of our pecs, okay? So these two muscle groups really, really work well together, and they have to be strong together. And that means, if you're gonna be a good bench presser, you've gotta do rows, you've gotta do pull-ups, you've gotta do upper back work, because it creates a very positive shelf that then lays down a foundation so that you can continue to make those extra gains. Now I put in here tries, some bis. Gotta throw out the shout out to the way I'm spelling tries. If you want to smash those bis and tries, pick up bis and tries 1 or 2 today at GarageStrength.com. But how do the triceps work? And a little bit of the biceps. So if we can, again, we covered this in our elbow flaring bench press video. The triceps are very, very important for having elbow stability, and the biceps will co-contract slightly with our triceps to make sure that our elbows are in that 45-degree range. And as we go through that eccentric portion, they're going to really start to light up. They're going to be overloaded, but they're going to be able to handle that eccentric load. And then as you drive through that mid-range on the concentric portion of the bench, the triceps really take on a lot more of the stress and a lot more of the load. And so the stronger our triceps can be, the better we can lock out in the bench press. And that is also where a lot of the big sports performance carryover comes from is from having those strong triceps. So if you are a shot putter, the triceps will come into big play on the finish of that throw. Same with wrestling. If you're pummeling, having strong triceps is really, really important for that carryover. And think about a football player throwing that stiff arm. That is going to be a lot of triceps along with those pecs. Now, heading into the glutes and abs, a lot of people don't talk about this when we're talking about the bench press. We've got to think about when we set up to bench and we're bringing our feet under us, we've got flat feet, we want to try and light up our glute, especially our glute max. It can create a ton of force. The glute max is very, very, very strong. And if we have a strong hip girdle and we light up our glute max, and we are contracted in our gut, we've got our gut filled with air pushing out through our belly button here. Now all of a sudden, that energy from our glutes can transfer through the hip into the gut, and when it gets into your abs, that energy now creates a very strong contraction, and it sets up even greater drive into the lats, which then makes it easier to press and the pecs. We've got to think of the bench press as a total body movement. It's not as much of a total body movement like a snatch or a clean or a back squat, but the glutes and the abs are tremendously involved, especially if you're a competitive powerlifter. You've got to learn how to utilize those glutes and how to utilize those abs. Now, traps and rhomboid. Okay, so that upper back mid-scap area is going to maintain shoulder health. It's going to sort of back up the lats, and it's going to make sure that the shoulders are stable, and it's going to aid in that eccentric portion and into that turnaround. And the stronger that your traps and your rhomboids are on the turnaround, on that coupling phase, it's going to be easier to put out a lot more force. Heading into the deltoids, okay? So anterior delts, mid delts. I actually think it's important for the delts to be quite a bit stronger than the traps or the rhomboid. Maybe not stronger, but just actually be able to put out a serious amount of power, and they've got to be healthy. If you head over to our Secrets of Military Press video, we talk about how the delts and the bench can be utilized together to really push each other. And if we have strong delts, we're going to have a strong bench. If we have a strong bench that we can sync in with our deltoids and our pecs together, we're going to have a strong military press. They sort of go hand in hand. And this last topic here, nobody ever references forearms when we're talking about bench pressing. I think this is absolutely a travesty in the world of sports performance. We have to think about forearms when we're benching. That's why at Garage Strength, we bench with fat bars almost entirely. And that's where that transfer to sports performance comes into play, is that the more active our grip is on the bar, and if we're using a fat bar, even if we use a false grip, the more active our forearms are, the more we're going to be able to recruit from the prime movers. It's going to be easier to override the size principle. If we're focused on more stability in our forearms, we will be able to recruit high threshold motor units easier from the pecs. And so it's very, very important that we have strong forearms, because that also transfers to that elbow stability. If our forearms are weak and our wrists is going back and forth and you're shaking like crazy, which often happens when people first get onto that fat bar, you're gonna lose a ton of neural drive to your pecs. But if that is stable and your elbow joint is stable, now that shoulder girdle is gonna be more stable, and you're going to be able to put out a lot more power into the bench, and it's gonna carry over very, very well into the realm of sports performance. So if you guys like this information, we made a 12-week plateau breaker bench press program. It's available at garagestrength.com. Again, if this is your first time to this channel, head over to the YouTube channel. Make sure that you like and you subscribe. You ring that notification bell. Make sure that you're aware and in tune with every piece of content that we cover, because we're going to be going over all educational topics behind sports performance so that you can bust through your PRs and continue to get stronger. Peace.